Good morning, guys. I'm giving the folks maybe about 3-4 more minutes, and we'll get started. All right, let me see if I can put my video so you can see. All right, all right. Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing today?
Fantabulous.
Morning.
Morning. You guys feel free to be on unmuted. That way we can all talk. And I want this to be a bit more interactive, okay? So stop me at any point. I'm not really manning the chat too much, but if you guys put something in the chat, I'll be happy to answer as well. So just be able to unmute yourself. So without further ado, it's 11:06. Let's get started. What I wanted to talk today, it was basically building on yesterday's conversation. I think we have some new folks here today, but yesterday we were talking about building your value proposition. Does anybody here from yesterday's training remember, or did you do your own value proposition that you want to share with us today, or nobody did it? I know Vitania's here, she didn't do it. Rashonda, I know you're there.
No, I did not do it.
Okay, so this trainings are doing it. We're doing it just for fun, huh? All right. So yesterday we were talking about, and I'm picking on you, Rashana, that's it, because Vitania also didn't do it. basically yesterday we had a conversation about value proposition and what to, the things that separate you, make you unique, to make a potential seller, right, list their house with you. That was a foundation or building block for today's class, right? We were today, I wasn't here yesterday. Okay, I got you, Maria. So that was a building block or foundation for what I wanted to talk today, right? I didn't want to start with generating leads because you could create, I could give you any lead I could hand over to you. I could send you to a for sale by owner's house. I could send you to somebody that has an expired listing to their house. But what do you do once you're there, right? So that's why we wanted to start with the value proposition and now move on to how we're gonna get, or not necessarily how we're gonna get them, but the different places we can get them. This business. I know that some of you guys are already doing some door knocking. You guys already, working some of these things. We just want to kind of go back to the building blocks and the basics of really prospecting. You see on the screen here, I have basically just another reminder for everybody in this class that if you do pay your dues with the association in full and early, I think there's a time frame in there. They will give you as a benefit 2 designations that you can take for free per year. What is a designation? Designation is basically an accreditation course that takes from 1 to 2 days at the association. As you can see, I got 3 of them here. One is the ABR, which is the accredited buyer representative. Another one is the SRS, that's a seller representative specialist. And then the PSA is pricing strategy advisor. Again, those 3 things, I consider some of my value propositions as well. I know somebody asked this question yesterday because, whenever I go to a potential client's house, I can speak to some of these accreditations that I have with the association that the next agent may not necessarily have, right? Doesn't make me better, doesn't make me worse, but it's, sometimes it's just things to pad up your resume, right? So let's continue without further ado. Let's talk about generating your business. And then the first thing we're going to talk about, see, somebody put something here in the chat. Somebody's getting error messages trying to join. I'm not sure. Can you put? I'm not sure. All right. So let me move this out the way. All right. So after assessing your value, as we talked about yesterday, I know we kind of didn't do it, but after assessing the value, determining points of differentiation, and crafting your message, right? Effective marketing requires you to build your business by targeting your audience, right? So that's what we're going to talk about today. Targeting your audience and figuring out exactly where you want to focus this energy. Now that you already have your value proposition, you know what your value is, you know what you're going to bring that's going to make you different from a different agent. Now we're going to target, find a way, because a lot of times agents are all over the place, right? Especially when you first start, some people are doing door knocking, some people are doing for sale by owner, some people are doing cold calling expires, some people are, and they start to do all this stuff that it makes it a little bit difficult to see faster results, no? So what we're gonna do today is just gonna go over some of those 4 main things that you guys can do, that you can apply the value from yesterday's class that you identify by yourself when you get in front of these people that you're going to be targeting, right? So the first thing, right, we establish your value proposition at points of differentiation, right? So basically, what your value, that's why you have a diamond there, what is your value? Now, after you identify your value, Vitania, we're going to craft that message. How are you going to convey that message to the potential client? Now we're going to target your audience. Now you're going to targeting a specific, okay, now you have the value, the message. Now who we're going to target. And then you have to be consistent, drip regularly and consistently, and then track and evaluate your results, right? If you don't measure it, you will never know where you are. Because business doesn't fall from the sky. But you have to follow this method here in order to get that accomplished. So let's talk about the first thing here. Keep having to move this thing. Okay. Building sustainable business. What do we mean by that? We're here talking about the very first thing we want to talk about building a sustainable business is your sphere or influence. Can anybody tell me what does that mean, your sphere or influence? Does anybody know what that means? Unmute yourself.
the people in your contacts, your family, friends, the people at your job, like the people in your everyday life.
It's 100% correct. Who was that? Who said that?
Rashonda.
Ah, Rashonda, perfect. So your sphere is just that. I know that sometimes when we do some of these classes with George, he likes to use the Reach app. If you guys don't have it, or the WhatsApp, you can send those broadcast messages to everybody in your contact list. So this is your sphere, right? So what happens with your sphere? Your sphere is going to allow you to not just simply access your own sphere, also be accessing those other people's spheres that are adjacent to yours, right? So here, for sphere marketing is your first step. So marketing consistently to your sphere is a requirement. It's not an option. It's not a suggestion. It's a requirement. It says it right there, not a suggestion to build your business and your brand. It is a requirement. What does this mean? You gotta stay in your social medias. You have to keep sending those messages on WhatsApp and the broadcast. You have to continue to just regularly call friends from high school, friends that you met at a bar, whatever the case may be, just to say hello, right? Continue to just always find a way to bring up what's going on in their lives. You know, I know that some people, when they see a couple getting a divorce, they always, hey, I hope everything's okay. If I anything I can do to help, right? You know, because now you're going to have somebody, if they own a home, they're going to need to sell a home and maybe get 2 more, right? So it requires a reliable database program. So like a follow-up boss, a Lion Desk, whatever the system that you want to build to make sure you stay consistent. Consistent must be done regularly, builds your credibility, right? So this is a big topic here. Builds your credibility. As an agent, if your own sphere doesn't know that you're an agent and they forget to work with you, are you really doing a good job? And I will tell you, one of my moments that I was really upset, I had a friend of mine, you know, that I have actually, we tried to work before with some rentals and stuff like that. And I know he was in the market to buy a new house. He had kind of bring it up a couple of times, but I never follow up as I should have followed up with him. And to the point that I didn't even know that his girlfriend was pregnant, that they were living, you know, I know he had a few kids, but I didn't know that she was pregnant. I wasn't really keeping up with his social media like that. Come to find out, he invites myself and my wife to a gender reveal. I'm like, oh wow, congratulations! Yeah, we'll definitely be there. And as I'm driving to his house, I noticed that it's not the house that I'm used to be going to, because again, I've been knowing for a while. But then I'm thinking maybe they're just having the gender reveal at a different location, right? So as I having this this situation, I'm driving towards the place. And we pull up to this $1 million home. So I'm like, oh, it makes sense. Maybe a friend of him lives here. They just having the thing here because I know he had an apartment. And I call him because hey, should I park outside? I don't know where to park here. He's like, yeah, just park anywhere. And then as I come in, he's just coming from upstairs without a shirt on. And I'm like, do you live here? He's like, yeah, we just bought this house. My wife saw it on Zillow or whatever. It was like a $1.2 million home. You know what I mean? So imagine that, how I felt. I was like, well, you know, happy for you, right? But if I would have kept up with that friend and then really being part of that sphere and being involved in those life changes, maybe I could have been that agent for that. Now, I'm not saying that to say that every friend of you have will always work with you only, because they may have other relatives or friends that are also in the business. But what I was upset about was that I just didn't even know. Right. So again, that's where your credibility comes in, must be tracked and can be outsourced. So the marketing, when I talk about the marketing, each member of your sphere also has a sphere of their own, right? So when you connect to your sphere, your marketing influence connects with your sphere as well. So your results of the power of leverage, which expands the effectiveness of your reach to attract new business. What does this mean? That if Luis here is reaching out to his sphere influence, to his friends, on social media, and you got, let's say, 1,000 friends, and let's say 20 of them, 10 of them repost something that you posted that they like that you did, one of your reels or whatever. Now that means if each of those 10 people that did it or 20 people that did it, they also have 1,000 people in their sphere that them is gonna reach out to. So now not only you did reach out to 10 effectively, now you really reach out to what, 1,000. right? So that's a sphere that is the absolute first line of defense when it comes to our prospecting, okay? So yeah, I know we got for sale by owners. We're gonna talk about those. We're gonna many other places we have to go to, but the sphere of influence must always be your first go-to, right? Like I know that, for example, Vitania, I'm gonna pick on you for a second. I know that you know some police officers, right? So those police officers, we have some great deals for them with the Hometown Heroes. You guys may be going to an event. Never be concerned about talking about your business. I'm just bringing it up. Like, you know that we can get you $35,000 for closing costs if you were to buy a house, just randomly, like it could be a joke, bring it up, right? And trust me, like if you're in a room with 10 cops, police officers, nurses, whatever the case may be, somebody will be listening.
Hopefully I'm not.
You know, somebody will be listening, right? So never be concerned about not talking about your business. You know, like we all know the friend who's a doctor, because they sometimes show up wearing their little scrubs to an event. So they, you know, so don't be afraid of coming in and putting your realtor hat when you have to put it on. Any questions about the sphere of influence here? Oh, family, Maria, correct. Family is absolutely the best, you know, we all got 25 cousins and brothers and sisters and all that. So always reach out to them. Any questions here in the sphere on our first step? Should be pretty clear. Let's keep rolling. Let's keep rolling. Let's keep rolling. All right. So now let's work. So, I mean, I always have to move this thing. All right. So prospective for new business, the listing homes, right? Where do we find these people? This is what we already have our value proposition. Are we targeting now? What are we really doing? We're going to focus only today on 4 key areas. And we actually just spoke about one of them, which is a sphere of influence. So we're not going to touch that again. So the 4 things that we can talk about are just, well, number 1, sphere of influence. We already talked about it. Number 2, geographic farming. A great tool for this, guys. We have an agent in our office that's a master at this. His name is Livan Beck. You guys really want to learn about farming, I would strongly suggest you reach out to him. The guy is an absolute genius on that. Expire leads, you know, that's gonna require you to do some work on the MLS, set up some searches, save some searches on the MLS. That's, you add yourself as a contact. They're gonna come to you the moment that they expire. Always, you know, they always come up in that's one of the first things you see on the MLS when you log in, right? That list of expired lists and active and all that stuff. And then FSBO, which is for sale by owners, right? That's a Zillow search. Anybody, I have one right now that basically I did a search on Zillow. I did an area that I wanted to look at. And basically, I get an email every single time something in that area that meets that criteria becomes active. You do the same thing? You raise your hand? Huh?
When you said it went active, I meant like
yes, every time something comes up in Zillow based on the search that you did, you're gonna get an email. So
you're gonna touch on like what actually geographic farming is.
Yes, we're gonna go into each one of those. So so basically, like each one of these things, when especially with the Zillow, is very good because now, again, remember, guys, this is not about hitting all these 4. It's about finding the one that works for you best. Obviously, we all do a little bit of each, but if you concentrate and focus on one of these, the best way to be better is just to really get some expertise, no? So let's go, and then we already talk about sphere of influence. Let's go to the first one. All right. So, sir. Yeah, dale. Wait. My Zoom, is it working? Because I think it just... It's the, I know, but my computer's tripping. Let me see. Oh, is it moving? Okay, perfect. So can you cannot read the top, right? Can anybody? I know, but my Zoom is messing up. Oh, right.
Yeah, I was having trouble with the.
What happened with the Zoom? I see something. Sorry, guys. I think can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear and see you okay.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. It's on this end is messing up. Okay. So, right. What are we talking about? You have to identify your farm and seller profile, meaning that we have to really, like when we talk about farm, we're not talking about homestead. We're talking about basically an area that you really want to work, right? If you think about farming, you know, farming is not, you don't see a field that has oranges, coconuts, and, you know, I don't know, every strawberries, you know, you don't see that. You see specific fruits and specific plants in a farm. So that's what this is talking about. Like, you identify an area, a geographical area that you want to work. Could be your immediate, your 5 mile radius to your house. Could be an area that you grew up in, that you know a lot about that area, that you can speak about the schools, that you can speak about everything that there's to do in the area to potential buyer or seller, right? That you are kind of like an expert. So you have to be thoughtful when you choose your graphic farm, because it's going to take time, effort, and money. It has to be invested in this. The benefits may not be immediate, but will materialize over time. What does this mean? This means that you're going to find an area that has, let's say, 400 homes in that area, 300 homes in that area. Typically, you have about a 5% turnover rate. That means that amount of homes are selling in the particular area, or whatever that number looks like. So you start selling mailers, you start doing door knocking in that area. You start making sure that every house in that area, by sending the EDMs, which are the mailers. So basically, you're gonna have that area that they're gonna see your face very often, right? I know Mike Valdez, he does a lot of for sale by owners. He does a lot of these mailers that eventually, you know, he doesn't see anything right away, but eventually when somebody like, oh man, I remember this guy from about 2 months ago that sent this pamphlet here, right? Let me see if I can reach out to him, because his pamphlet or whatever you're sending is going to have information about your business. If you don't have a lot of business, you can, hey, use a lifestyle business, right? To attach to this, you know, recently sold in the area. You can use a lot of information, you know, that you're going to be bombarding these people with every 3, 4, 5 months. You know, you figure out your cadence based on your budget. So some resources for demographic information, you know, for you to be able to find some information about the demographics, it's going to be in an RPR. We all got an RPR for free account, right? So there's a thing called niche.com. You can go to niche.com to find out more demographics. Remine is great. HomeSnap, we all have it, MLS Alert, and Google Alerts. All these sites here basically give you some information about some demographics that you want to target. If you're trying to target 30 to 45, 30 to 55, you know, maybe 55 plus people, there's a lot of business that do that. That maybe that 22, like millennials, you know, whatever, Gen Z, like whatever it is. Remember, this is about farming and being centric and really finding what you want to do and targeting that, you know, making that your primary business. All right. So the budget, one thing that they don't ever talk to you about when you first become an agent is about your budget. I wish people would have talked to me more about this, but this is what we're here now for, right? We make a lot of money in you know, in some cases, you know, from sales, rentals, whatever the case may be, and we don't always allocate anything to invest in ourselves, in our business, right? If you're closing 4 or 5 Hey guys, sorry, technical difficulties. So thank you for you guys to staying here. So let me go ahead and get back on this thing. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, I do.
Kind of?
I hear it clear.
Okay, perfect. I'm just setting the presentation back up and then we're gonna speed through a couple of the slides. Promise you guys will still get the full benefits of this.
I think it made me the host when you left, so I don't know how to take that off.
Oh, let me see. But it's a, oh yeah, host is disabled. So you can go to participants, okay?
Mhm,
And then click on my name. There
mhm.
should be three little,
Oh, got it.
and then I think you can make me host there. There
There
you
you
go.
go.
You can see you learned something else today.
Right?
Thank you for holding it down.
You're welcome.
All right, let's see. Okay, host screen, boom, boom. All right, percent. All right, we all back. Okay, boom. Let me go to where we were. We were talking about okay, yeah. We were talking about marketing budget. So again, guys, make sure you guys have a budget, right? Long-term versus short-term farming. You can do what is a long-term, short-term. So remember, just because it's been 90 days, 3 months, and it's not working, doesn't mean that it's a bad product, right? Things take a long time to work sometimes, but it will be worth it in the long end, right? You don't want to send a mailer in 3 months, do it for like every 30 days or every 4 months or whatever the case may be. And just because you don't see any business or any calls in 6 months, oh, this doesn't work. You gotta stay true to it, because what happens is just that a lot of agents that do these mailers and do these things, they don't see an immediate result, like instant gratification. So they stop doing it. So now they are not top of mind, but you gotta, that's why it's important to have that budget that is gonna allow you, if the budget is that you're gonna save $200 per closing or $150 per closing, and then allocate it to that when it comes to the 5 months, then so be it, right? You'll be ready every single month or every single time that the cadence comes around. So it could mean that you're not putting in the time and the effort and working it. You need to figure out why it's not, is because it's working for somebody else, right? So you stick to it. At the end of the day, you're gonna continue to build up. Out of those 200 homes, one sale is gonna pay for this more than, because if you're not gonna drop $18,000 or $15,000 on these things, right? You're gonna only spend, let's say in a year, like let's say $1,500, $2,000, but that one sale that got you 15,000 already cover all this, right? So that's why you gotta stick to this. And then once you sell that one house, or you list that one house, now you have an opportunity to do those open houses and door knocking that may bring you another one. So you see the domino effect. Any questions on what geographic farming means? Yes, sir.
More about at what stage would you scale it to the like degree of, obviously, if you, as your business grows, how often would you scale it to like a big, like the first year you're gonna put 1,500? At what point do you see like, all right, now that I've reached this level, now I'm putting 5,000, 10,000?
It's a very personal question, because you have to do what makes sense for you, right? So but you also don't want to overkill it, right? You want to be consistent to the degree that you're gonna send these mailers out. And you have to, every time you send a mailer out, it's not just sending your pretty face. You're gonna have to be figuring a way maybe to be sharing information, maybe market information. Um, a call to action, if you will. A call to action is when you send something out, could be on social media, like message me for more information, or scan this QR code if you want to see how much I can get you for your house.
You said it was a fun formation or something like that, where it's like short, I think it was another.
No, that was somebody else.
Like informative, but it's still like.
Yeah, exactly. Like find a way, everybody's different. Just find what sticks to you. But always find ways. And this, again, when we go back to what we discussed earlier, when you're farming and you targeting a certain area, you have to send information for that area. You don't want to send to Homestead information about Kendall or information about Doral. It doesn't apply. They don't care about it, right? they care about what's coming up. Maybe you found out that there's a new mall coming up. Maybe you found out that there's a new highway being built. Maybe you found out something about new homes coming in the market, single families, new construction. You want to add information of value to these people, right? That live in the particular place. Any other questions? No. Let's move on to the next part. So we discussed about geographic farming. Let's go now to cold calling, everybody's favorite, right? Everybody's favorite, right? So cold calling can still be effective means of finding business. So we talk about sphere, we talk about geographical. Now let's get to good old cold calling. So there are a few important things to remember. However, this is not a cold calling class, guys. We're not gonna go over these things. We're just gonna talk briefly about what these things do. So remember, guys, federal laws apply. So you cannot just be calling anybody, right? Some people do, some people don't. Our advice is move carefully, right? If you see a do not call, you have to make the determination. My job here is to let you know that there is legal implications if somebody really wants to push it, right? The person on the other end has no existing relationship with you or your firm. People you're calling, they don't know who you are. They don't know your firm. They don't know you, right? Most people prefer to remain anonymous, right? Like you calling somebody on the phone, you're not building a friendship off the bat, right? People are often skeptical based on the perception that you're in sales. We all know this. We all get calls from this spam risk. We all get these calls. We do not like them. Nobody does. So find the ways when you're making these cold calls not to sound salesy, right? Rapport building must be done quickly, right? You got about 10 seconds in this conversation when you pick up the phone or the person picks up the phone to really engage them in the conversation. Like you're not gonna be able to talk to somebody for 30 minutes and then build rapport in the 30 minutes. You have to do it right away. Yes, sir?
Something to do with it. We heard stories, Mark Cuban, the Cowboys, the Mavericks.
Dallas, yeah.
When they started, got a yellow phone book and they one by one. And then he said in 10 seconds, he started the conversation. I know you've already been to a Mavericks game before, but I'm Mark Cuban, the owner. I'm willing to buy you first ticket in to get more people to come.
That's a draw.
And it actually worked for him, and he literally got like break the record of standing in the crowd. He just sat there with yellow phone book.
And that's a call to action right there. Like I'm Mark Cuban. If you do this, I'll do this for you, or whatever, right? Like I don't know what they call most of it, but hey, if you show up, I'm gonna buy you a ticket, right? So that's a call to action. So if you find what works for you, like let me. You got 30 seconds. I don't know, figure it out. I want to get into that. There's people that do a lot of cold calling that can get you more into those things. Just don't be too scripted, and then obviously don't be too cold or too salesy. Drip systems can develop rapport over time in a non-threatening way. So what does this mean? Just because somebody tells you they're not interested in what you're selling them on the phone at the time, again, aka getting a listing, doesn't mean you cannot share information with them, right? So if you get a sense of, oh, you know what, I'm not interested in this right now. That right now tells you a lot, because now you can say, okay, listen, can I confirm your email is this? Because your chances are you're gonna have it in front of you, the email, when you're getting this information, the phone numbers and stuff. You're gonna have, is your email sweetbabycakes25@gmail.com? They're gonna tell you yes or no, right? Okay, do you mind if I send you some periodically information about the market or whatever, They're gonna tell you, chances are gonna tell you, yeah, I don't mind, whatever, it's an email. So then you can grab those emails and start building like an Excel sheet that you can then copy those emails and send him some drip campaigns about the market. There's many ways here that you can go ahead and check for market updates and then automate it, right? So if you're soliciting a listing for sale by owner, you must check the do not call list, even if it's assigned with a phone number on the loan, right? Because you can get in trouble with that. So some key resources here. Understanding the do not call law is essential. You can check the numbers with this website right there. You guys can take a screenshot. There's some information there that's beneficial for you guys to know that they don't always tell you about. Again, guys, this is not a cold calling class. I'm just going over some of the places you can get prospects from. Any questions on cold calling? No? All right.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if it really applies, but in one of the Let's Do This calls, I saw Gigi mention that she texts. Do you feel like that, like, does the do not call laws apply if you're sending a text?
That's a very good question. We will have to go into this one of these little key resources there to find out. It's a very good question. I know that if you know, I always try to internalize it, right? Like, what would I like? You know, like, well, how would I feel about getting a random text message for somebody that I don't know? You just have to be very crafty with it, where, you know, because the first thing you see when somebody texts you, you know, if is the number saved. If it's not saved, you may kind of look at it. If there's a link, the first thing I do is delete it. I don't even, you know, whatever. So if, as long as you can figure out to be crafty with it, I think you should be fine, right? But
I have not been successful. I've texted people and I can see that they read it, but they did not respond.
Yeah, but you will have people like Mike Valdez that will tell you that they had texted people like 6, 7, 8 times with no responses, and eventually they do respond, that they're ready to sell, right? So again, going back to what we talked about earlier, it doesn't matter that, don't think about something that didn't work in the first 90 days, even the first 60 days or whatever, that is not working. You stay consistent. Do not be a bother. You know, don't be annoying. Just find a cadence. You know, maybe it's a message every 2 months, every 3 months. Eventually, you just want to be top of mind, right?
Right.
But that's a good question. I would check one of these things here. If I were you, the 3 or number 4, and then maybe find out about the text messaging part. I'm sure it will be there. And guess what? If it's not listed anywhere there, it's all good. Because as long as it's if it's not there, then I guess it's okay.
Okay, thank you.
We got it. All right, so for sale by owners, we just gonna touch on that a little bit. You guys gonna get some good information here, guys. So for sale by owners, you know, they have a problem and you can be the solution. If you guys were on the call that we had yesterday, part of the value proposition that we're talking about your independent self, is that you have a particular set of skills that can address somebody's problem, right? You're trying to identify the problem and then draw a direct line to what your value proposition is that is going to allow you to solve that problem, right? So for sale by owners have a problem, you have the solution. So your communication must counter these basic objections, you know, right? So we're going to go through some of the objections with the for sale by owners. They don't want to know you, right? When you call them on the phone, they're getting a call from a million other agents, right? They don't want to know you. They don't think that they need you. That's a big one, right? They think that they can sell their own home. It's very easy to do. You just put it on the market, put a sign in front. It's like a car on Facebook Marketplace. Somebody's going to come see it and they're going to give you cash. That's what they think. They don't know your value package, right? We talked about value earlier yesterday. This is where they don't know the value that you bring into this transaction to them. They are certain they can save money, right? So again, they don't think they need you, and they are for sure certain that they can save money if they don't use a realtor. And they believe they can do it themselves. It's a belief, right? Guys, this is not a situation where you or an objection that you have to be very careful, right? Because it's you're dealing with people's beliefs at this point. If I believe in my heart that I can sell this house by myself and somebody tells me that I can't or that I shouldn't, we already have an adversarial relationship from the jump, right? Oh, yes, Vitania, I'm 100% sure you can sell your home. You know, inventory is very low. There's a lot of people in the market, even though the interest rates are high, there's just no inventory. I'm 100% sure you can sell your home by yourself. I just want to talk to you about the value that I can bring into this transaction if we were to work together, right? I'm not saying that this is the way that you should talk to them. It's just saying it just came up out of my mind just now. Like, I want to find a way to show this person that I bring value, right? So they could try to sell their home, and I know that, and I keep saying his name, Michael. He does this thing where he says, you know, when will be a good time? Like, if you sell it, if you don't sell it in how long, or what's the time frame that you're gonna be trying to sell it on your own, that then you will consider working with somebody else. right? You're just trying to get a sense. They will tell you probably, you know what, in 30 days. If I don't sell this house in 30 days, give me a call. If I don't sell this house in 6 months, give me a call. And guess what? You're gonna follow up with them a little bit before those 30 days, a little bit before those 6 months, because guess what? They told the same thing to everybody else. So if another realtor is waiting for the 30th day, but then you call them on the 25th day, they're already frustrated in the 20th day, right? You are ahead of the game. So let's look at some numbers. This is from 2022. This is the source. You are not an expense, right? You are profit center. You are not an expense. The commission is not an expense to them. Why do we say that? The median selling price, and I'm not 100% sure, I think this is from NAR, but I'm not sure what the area is, but let's just go with it. All sellers was $330,000. That was the median average price in 2022. Out of those of all sellers, for sale by owners sold their homes on an average of 225. That's a little bit low, right? The average. Agent assisted only, which means I would just listings from the get-go, 344. So 14 higher than the average, right? And then the scenario that I just gave you guys, first for sale by owner and then listing, they were at 224. So below the for sale by owner by itself. Well, why is that? Can anybody tell me why they think that these numbers are like that? Why do you pricing wasn't right, like pricing right? Maybe they staging, correct? That's a very good one. What about this? Do you think that the buyer had an agent maybe, and that the buyer came in and the buyer's agent really did a number on that seller as far as inspections, as far as appraisals, about a bunch of stuff that maybe you drop the prices down? That could be a situation, because remember, these buyers are being represented. So I will do everything I can to get credits from a buyer. But the seller has nobody representing them. So they, once they go on the contract, they may not know the ways ins and outs about this contract, right? So the first for sale by owner and the agent assistant, what do you think that's the lowest one? That means that they was first a for sale by owner, and then they got an agent after the 30 days after the.
Yeah, why are that number so low?
Yeah, I got an answer. Anybody knows? All right. So, an answer for that could be that what happens when something's been on the market for a long time? When you're shopping for a client, for a buyer, and they notice that the days on market is, let's say, 125 days, 100 days on the market, what do they think?
I assume there's something wrong with the property.
Boom, somebody just said it. They're gonna assume that something's wrong with the property. They're gonna start trying to send you lowball offers, right? So now this for sale by owner put this house on the market and they had it there for like 30, 45 days, 60 days, right? Is actively lowering the price of your home every day that you don't sell. But then you want to give it to an agent to pick up the broken pieces, right? But now everybody has seen this house on the market because Zillow is all over the place. Everybody has seen this house that's been on the market for 200 days. So you're gonna get nothing but lowball offers, right? And then at the same time, there's gotta be a reason why the seller is selling the house. Maybe they moving, maybe they're getting it, whatever the case may be. Now they're getting more desperate as time passes, and then they start accepting lower offers. As if it were to be on the market correctly from the beginning, right? You probably sell it much faster. You don't have to haggle so much. So again, this is just to give you an idea of why you are an asset, because in this scenario right here, an assistant, what's the difference between that? That's over $100,000, right? That more than pays for your commission. And I know some of the agents that do for sale by owners use this line that if I don't pay my commission when we sell this house, I'm not doing my job, right? If I cannot come up with the extra 15, 20, $30,000 on this sale, by the time we're done with this, then we probably don't deserve to be doing this job, right? Any questions on this slide?
Wait,
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So, because you made a lot of points that now I kind of feel like confident in speaking to an owner if they have it listed for sale by owner. But do you speak about all these things or make all these points on the phone with them, or do you bring this up once you get the appointment?
I would do once you get that appointment, right? Because imagine just sitting there on the phone with somebody that you don't know, and they're sitting there telling you, oh, you know that 30% of sellers sold like this. You know, you start, it's too salesy, right?
Right.
These are tools that you can use. And again, all this information is out there for all of us available. And once you kind of, that's the importance, right? Of focusing on your area, because you're not gonna be expected to know this information for Miami-Dade, right? Some agents do, you know, but I'm not, but I would like to know it for, like, say I'm in Homestead. I would love to know this information for Homestead, and not just Homestead, whatever farm area in Homestead I have, I would love to have this information because it's gonna be automatic. So every time I do this alert on Zillow, they're gonna get that email about that section, that subdivision in Homestead, and I get that I'm gonna call that agent or that person right away, be like, hey, you know, hey, I work this area a lot. I know that you have it for sale. You know, you go into whatever your pitch is, and you start talking about, you know, because sometimes I've gotten in for sale by owner calls that last 40 minutes, that last almost an hour. If you're in those conversations, then you can bring those things up. You know, sometimes you don't have that much time. Sometimes maybe you just have, you know, 30 seconds. Maybe you have just a few minutes. Maybe you have way longer. You will be able to kind of gauge how the information you give based on how the flow of the conversation.
Okay.
You know, but this information is very good to, you know, like to have, because, you know, if I tell somebody, listen, just in 2022, sellers, you know, the average median price was 330. You know, if for sale by owners was 225, and then people that listed was 344. That's big time. That's over $100,000 left on the table, right? So you have these conversations like this, very centric. You're gonna see your business grow. Any other questions here? Moving along. All right. So this one here, we're gonna be touching a bit on the another piece of a business with expires. Okay. So expired listings. Let me move this over here. Hello guys. Not too bad. So we only got maybe 4 minutes left, guys. So basically, we talked about the farming, we talked about for sale by owners, we talked about your sphere. So expired listings, assess, convert, and release, right? So some of the characteristics we have for expired listings, and again, expired listings can be found on the dashboard. So not only can you find those new listings, you can also find these expires, and maybe find a way to tackle this if that's what you want to kind of work on. So the communications and marketing should address these objections. I'm going to tell you some objections if you decide to work with the expires. So people who own expire, you know, like they believe their listing agent did something wrong already, right? Like if you had a listing wasn't there for, I don't know, 4 months, 5 months, it didn't sell, and they take and they expire, the first thought that person has is that the agent did something wrong. Sometimes the buyer, I mean, the seller was super unrealistic, right? And then had a super way higher price than the price was worth, but they're never gonna think that, right? So maybe they have tried listing it before. Typically it's overpriced or not, they're not very motivated to sell. I've had listings like that they listed it just to see what was on the market. Like, listen, the house is worth 400, let me list it for 550. They were not, they didn't really want to sell the house. They may have debt that exceeds the value. I had clients like this before too, that they owe way more on the house, on the property, that they will make even if they sold it. So it didn't even make sense to sell, and also to list with an agent, because they will be basically owing more money. Or they blame the agent for lack of marketing, right?
this is very important when you guys are talking about these expires because, you know, so these are some of the characteristics of it. So 10 steps to listing the expire. So let's go over this. Let me move this over here. All right. Let me make sure we have, okay. So number one, you have to identify the property that has expired, but but hasn't been relisted, right? Just make sure you check the MLS. It went to expire. It's never been relisted. Okay, that's step number one, you know. Contact the owner as soon as possible to secure the appointment. Listen to why they believe it didn't sell. They give you free gems, free game, right? They're telling you exactly why they believe it didn't sell. So now you can use the value proposition that we talked about before to maybe solve that problem that they believe to have, right? So discuss the financial viability of the property. Be empathetic, but convey what is reality. This is a tango that we do all the time with sellers, even with buyers, you know, that you have to understand their situation, but you have to be realistic. Just because I had a seller one time flat out tell me to my face, because they wanted to sell the house like $100,000 overpriced over what we know the value was. And I asked her, I was like, hey, why are you coming up with this price? That's not the price that we discussed. And she told me to my face, well, that price is based on my needs. That's what she told me. And I'm sitting there like, your needs do not dictate the market, right? And then actually I canceled the listing. I was like, I cannot do this, right? Because we had an agreement that we're gonna lower the price every 30 days. She reneged on that. She didn't want to do it, so we canceled. And I noticed that the house actually she relisted it again, actually higher than what I had told her before and than what I had it listed for. But the final sales price was the one that I originally told her to sell for. So her listing was in the market for like 8 months, right? But again, some people you just cannot work with. Assess the value of the property prior to your meeting with the seller. This is important, right? That's why, again, we talked about earlier, if you pay your dues early, you can get these pricing strategy classes with the association that's gonna teach you how to use RPR, teach you how to use different ways to price a home on the go. So you could be literally on the way to the house and it takes you 5 minutes to get an assessment of how much this house is worth based on different factors. Provide the seller with a counseling session, discuss your marketing plan. Most agents do not have a marketing plan. The marketing plan they have is open house. We're gonna put it on the MLS and I throw it on my social media. That's 90% of agents' marketing plan, right? So go back to your value proposition, begin to identify things that you can do to actually market this property and communicate this marketing. Explain how you will communicate. I spoke about this yesterday. I over communicate with my clients. I tell them, listen, you're gonna get Excel sheets, you're gonna get all this information. I'm gonna send it to you either at the end of the week or Mondays, whatever the case may be. So you have a cadence. You know, you don't want a client just thinking, okay, what's his agent at? I haven't heard from my agent in 2 weeks or a week. Don't just always wait to have an update to give them an update. You know, I always tell my clients, listen, I'm gonna always give you an update on Mondays or Fridays, right? That way, maybe to give you the action over the weekend to tell you what happened over the week. Simple as that. And determine if you want the listing, right? We don't want a relisting. Like I said, I have very bad experiences. You know, I don't want a relisting. I went to a house in Ventura. The guy wanted, just his neighbor sold a house for like $2.5 million, brand new, updated to the T. When I went to see this guy, he thought his house was also worth $2 million because of his neighbor, not because of his house. His house was trash. It was so bad he didn't even let me see some of the rooms. But it was bad, nothing updated. I mean, but that was based what he wanted. He said, I want $2 million for my house. I'm like, I know that's what you want. I would love to get you $2 million, but it's not gonna sell. I can get you 1.4, 1.2 max, that range. And he was not happy. And he was like, if you can come up, you know, call me back when you get this number, we'll talk. I'm like, I just don't like picking up listings, just picking it up. Like, I don't like, some agents do it, some agents don't. I'm not gonna pick up a $2 million listing that's worth $1 million. That's silly, right? Because that's what's gonna happen is that's gonna go expire when he doesn't get the numbers that he thinks he's gonna get. Again, you guys, everybody does what they want to do. So some question to ask the seller, why do you think the home didn't sell? Again, going back to what we talked about earlier. If you got any feedback, what was it? What was the feedback that you got? What's the debt against the property? How much you owe? Do you have one mortgage? You got 2 mortgages? 3? I don't know. How much you owe? because it's gonna help you with the net sales of it, right? How much you really want to get out of it. How was your home marketed? This is a very good question. How did they market your home when it was on the market? 9 times out of 10, they don't know, because the agents 9 times out of 10 do not communicate this effectively. It gives you, huh?
They don't communicate when it starts to be on.
They don't agents do not communicate how the house is being marketed. They just throw an MLS and that's it, right? They don't call the seller or show the seller, listen, this is where your house appeared at. This is where it's being, this is how many eyes are on the, reverse. This is the reverse prospecting that I did for the, everybody that saw it. I'm sending these emails to these people. This is how many people got the open house. All this stuff, we don't communicate that effectively, right? We get paid a lot of money not to do this job, not to communicate like we should, right? We think that we get to this and throw in MLS, that's it. All right. So did you receive or refuse any offers? Was the price adjusted? Did you receive regular progress reports? Well, we'll talk about just Monday, Fridays. Were any showings refused? We got a lot of agents that can only show a home during certain times, but the seller doesn't ever know this, right? Were there any public or broker opens? There's a lot of things that we do. And the reason you ask these questions is because these are all things that we as agents should be doing, but not all agents are doing. But by simply asking these questions to the seller, puts them in their mind that these are things that you would do. And if out of these 9 questions here, the answer to all this is no, or to half of them, or to 40% of them is no, and you can convey that you will do these things, guess what? You have a much higher chance of getting that listing just by asking questions of things that we should already be doing, right? Any questions on expires? This is our last topic. I guess it's not questions.
It's me again. I have a question.
Talk to me.
Okay, so a lot of the things that I've heard, like when I've done research on expired, is people feeling like, or the owner asking, well, what can you do better? And as a new agent, I don't know the answer to that question. So like, do you feel like expired is a good market or something like a target for new agents to do, basically, is what I'm asking.
Everything is good, right? Like I always tell you that in this business, absolutely everything works. That's the answer. That's the answer, right? But again, it goes back to the consistency that you put into it. You cannot expect something to just start working in the first 30, 60, 90 days. So by just asking these questions, and that's a very good question that you raised, but if you are prepared, right, before you start making these calls, you already develop your value proposition that we talked about yesterday, and you start using these questions to include them in your value proposition and include them in your presentation package or whatever you're talking to these clients, presenting to these clients. Just putting these 9 questions and instead of putting questions, you turn these questions into actions that you will do, right? When you say, for example, like feedback, you can put there that we will provide regular feedback on the property from open houses and from other agents, from brokers opens, right? There you put like, how was the home marketed? Instead of asking that, you will probably say in that when you're talking to that prospect, this is the ways in which I market our listings, and then the help of lifestyle. There's many ways we can use that. You can probably talk about the 22, 23 offices that we have, the reach we have to New Jersey, the reach we have to now to the Carolinas, right? You can talk about all those little things that we do that with 2,000 plus agents. I don't know, like all these things that you can include in the marketing packet. Did you receive progress reports, regular progress reports? You can say, and then another thing that we do, myself and my team, is that we make sure that give our sellers, our clients, regular reports on everything dealing with the property, and not just the property, the market, right? Well, just because I don't have an update on your house doesn't mean I don't have an update on your neighborhood, right? These other homes came. What do I mean? These other homes came on the market, and this is your competition. Your neighbor just decided to sell as well. This is how they listed it at. So you give these updates regularly you bring in the value. where any showings refused. That's big time, because you can say, listen, I do this 24/7, I do this whatever time, or I may not be available 24/7, but I have a team and we make sure that we have 24/7 access, as long as you are okay with that, if the house may be empty or whatever, that we will not refuse any showings at any time to make sure that we increase the chances of this getting sold, right? Because your buyer could be only, the buyer for this house could only, maybe can only see it on Sundays at 7 p.m., right?
Got it.
You know, things like that. So you use this. That's why I think Aspires are actually good in a sense, because they wanted to sell the house. Maybe they ran into a very bad agent. So it's your job now to kind of bring your value and make yourself differentiate yourself from other agents. Now, maybe the agents were very good and then the seller was just unrealistic, but that's for you to figure out during the call.
Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other questions, guys? I know we went over because we had some technical difficulties, but any other questions or concerns? I'll take that as a no. All right, so we spoke about value proposition. I think our next class, guys, will be, let me tell you what it's gonna be on. That way, we all on the same page here. Oh, wait. I'll tell you right now. Give me 1 second. Man, I have the Mario's, the Mario song stuck to my head. Peaches, 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 peaches. I'm sorry. All right, so now we're gonna be talking about the next class. It's gonna be on preparing the listing appointment, okay? So we already spoke about your value proposition. I really hope you guys really go back to the slides that I gave you guys and start building your value proposition. Attach some of the questions you have seen on today's class to kind of add value. Now we already talked about the different places we can get this, we can prospect from. But the next class, please identify one of these 4 that you want to work on. And then we're gonna work on getting a listing presentation for each one of those 4 that applies to you. We're not gonna necessarily do the presentation. We're just gonna kind of give you the steps on how to build it based on what you chose, right? I can send you guys this if you guys want. All right. So other than that, I see you guys. I got it for the 16th. I am traveling to New York tomorrow. But if I got good Wi-Fi, we'll still do it because I'm gonna be. But right, so right now it's on the 16th, unless it gets moved because of my connections. Nah. All right, guys. Well, thank you guys for your time and then everything. And we're gonna have one of these classes. We're gonna have it around 6 p.m. And then I'm gonna be sharing a nice document with you guys that you guys are gonna absolutely love. That's gonna help you with sellers overall, but that's only gonna be for people that actually made it to all 4 of the classes. Okay. This is the second one. You were in the first one already yesterday. All right. So talk to you guys later and thank you for your time.
Bye, thank you.
It's so hot, but the AC guy is here, guys.
Yes, I'm done.
Yeah.